Welcome back in. Welcome back in. It's your boy Mike coming at y'all, man, as it's time now for the preseason. We're going to do a little bit of training camp action in here. Going to play the moments in these preseason games, get a first look at this fresh crop of rookies. And man, I'm excited. We have quite a few guys who I anticipate will have big roles. Denario Stewart should get plenty of burn on the defensive front. We also have George Cage, another defensive tackle, likely going to be more of a rotational guy here in his first year. Amani Harris, the corner. Definitely excited to see what he can bring to the table after, what I would call a very successful pick in Andrew Stinson a year ago. Now, just building some more talent out for the future of the position. So we'll see a little bit of Harris here as well. And, beyond that, really just ready to let these guys shine. We'll see a little bit of James Rivera, the center, in there as well. And you see, here's Glenn Roberts, man, back healthy. And, the plan is certainly for him to be the starter this year. We are certainly going to see him in the preseason. We need to make sure that he really put the work in the offseason. We want to see an increased attention to detail as far as holding on to the ball. We also want to make sure that he's able to hit the layups. If you got a guy coming across your face 5 yards from where you're throwing the ball with no pressure, absolutely zero reason that you shouldn't be able to hit that 9.9 times out of 10. But we will see. We do also hope that, he's going to try to use his legs a little bit more. We're going to try to put him into positions to be more successful. Ty Davis-Price, Rashad Bateman, Rondale Moore. What more could you really ask for as far as talent around you? And a pretty good offensive line as well. There's not a single position on the offensive line that is below average. As we see DTR here getting a little bit of burn, has a nice one to Chase Claypool. Pass, unfortunately, is knocked away there. I was very tempted to have Josh Dobbs do this second drill, but as Dobbs continues to get a little older, I just think that getting Dorian Thompson-Robinson some snaps could be crucial down the line. We've liked what we've gotten from him in his limited run with the team last year. Of course, just 5 pass attempts all season, 4 for 5 and a touchdown, So if he can, become more comfortable in the system, become more comfortable with the weapons on the team, we think that it'll really do him good for, when he potentially could take that backup role over. But yeah, no, as we mentioned, man, Glenn Roberts, we drafted him in the first round. Again, we knew he was going to be a project. He sits just outside of that 80 overall range as we stand right now. And, I do hope that he's made progress. The last thing that we want is to use a first round pick on a quarterback that can't play. And last year, Glenn Roberts had his moments where he could play, but he also had plenty of moments where he showed that, the lack of polish was certainly something that we were going to have to deal with. And we did, certainly. Oh, man. It was quite a bit of a roller coaster ride. We're also going to keep Josh Dobbs on the roster. He will remain here as the backup quarterback. We don't want Roberts peeking over his shoulder and, feeling like, hey, am I going to get pulled from this game? Oh, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? So Roberts is going to be the unquestioned starter as we head into the regular season. He's going to be the week 1 starter, opening day starter, but he will play quite a bit in the preseason. Again, without having taken a snap in quite some time. The last time that he saw the field was against the Lions back in week 15. And he's going to have to wait, did I say week 15? Yeah, week 15 against the Lions. And he played extraordinarily, before he unfortunately went down with injury again. Who can say whether or not we would have gone on the run that we did had Roberts not gotten injured? There's honestly no way to know that. But if Josh Dobbs was able to do it, and honestly, I think that his crowning achievement in the postseason run, and it was probably his worst game as well, was that Buffalo game. The defense did a lot of heavy lifting to open things up, got us out to a pretty strong lead. And there were a lot of times in that game where our offense went pretty anemic, both through the air and on the ground. Davis Price did score 3 times, but, it wasn't like they were super fluid. It wasn't like they were super fluid drives that saw him score. One of them or 2 of them came within 2 yards of the end zone, and the other one was a trap play where he went 5 yards and had some great blocking from the offensive line, which, not his fault. We love to see that. But I give credit to Josh Dobbs, man. When it was time for the rubber to meet the road, he did what he needed to do and what he's always done. When he's been in these positions, he's leaned on his playmakers. He's allowed them to take the lead. Think Trey McBride, who had no catches in the Super Bowl up until a very, very pivotal final possession where, he came across underneath wide open, beat his man outside, and was able to take it for 20 yards, which essentially put us into field goal range. And Cameron Dicker, who only missed 1 kick all season last year, we were more than confident that he was going to be able to finish things out. But now in his second year, we are going to hope to see a bit of maturity now from Glenn Roberts. You've had a year now in a professional system. You have a plethora of playmakers around you. The offensive line is improved. The defense, I believe, should be improved. Again, we are giving our defensive coordinator another year despite his struggles. He started to come on very well towards the end of the season. We were giving up upwards of 30 points a game for the first, 12 weeks of the year. And then afterwards, even in the playoffs, we did have a couple the Jags, exactly. The Lions in the wild card ended up scoring 33 points. Now, I think that that's more of a product of them just being in hyper aggressive mode because they were down by so much. But at the end of the day, we did give those points up. And we did give those points up. However, with the defense, with the way the defense was playing, prior to giving up those points in that Detroit game, more in particularly, we wouldn't have even gotten out to that lead without the defense. Greedy Williams picking off Jared Goff on the first play of the game and then just really standing tall, playing a lot of bend, don't break, and, turning the ball over at critical junctures, keeping possession of the ball offensively. And, we are going to be hoping that we can see that same type of defensive performance for Glenn Roberts that we got for Josh Dobbs. Again, I don't know what it is about Josh Dobbs that just seemingly makes the team go, but there is a lot to it. And we're very excited, man, as you see Denario Stewart getting our first close-up look at him. Now, Stewart, in this first season, we are not expecting huge sack production from him, even really, huge pressure production. We're mostly focused on making sure that his hot ticket item, which was his run stopping, is able to translate. We had one of the better run defenses in the league last year. I want to say we were actually number 1, either 1 or 2. And, Stewart is going to be a big part of replicating that. We lost almost every interior defender that we had rostered last season. No more Lecky Fotu, no more Danico Autry, no more Deshaun Hand, no more Folu Fatukasi. Instead, Juan Drummond does remain, but now we have Denario Stewart. Now we have Eric Armstead. Now we have AJ Epinesa. We have the rookie as well, George Cage. And it's going to be a big fight, to make sure that we're able to hold up the standard that we've set for ourselves on the ground. And with Zaven Collins patrolling that linebacker spot along with Cam Wilhelm and Jaron Kearse, who, with the re-signing in the offseason, we expect to continue to play a pretty big role for us. We think that the run defense will certainly be in a very good spot. The pass defense, though, is something that it's a non-negotiable, has to get better. We gave up nearly 350 yards a game in the passing game. And that's just, it's not a recipe for success. That's a big part of the reason why we were, 5-7 at one point, not even wondering, were we going to even sniff the playoffs. And, crazily enough, we did end up making the playoffs by 2 games. But, it took a big effort at the end of the season. It's not often you get a slate with Detroit and Dallas and Kansas City and San Francisco and are able to come out of that unscathed, which this team was able to do. And I do think it speaks to the overall leadership of the team. I think it speaks to the culture that's been set in place. This team, a lot of players were new. You had a lot of rookies. Stinson wasn't there in the first season. You didn't have Juan Drummond in the first season. Of course, Glenn Roberts was not there. Rookie center Dalton Murray, well, now second year, but he was a rookie last year. He wasn't here season 1. So just being able to see what this team was able to do, making the playoffs, winning a playoff game in a season where a lot of folks thought that they would be contending for the number 1 overall pick, which, depending how you slice it, I mean, we kind of did, because we did get the number 1 pick thanks to the Texans, who did not play anything in this franchise like they have in real life under C.J. Stroud. Man, Stroud has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Forget being a rookie. He's really, really done a great job at holding on to the ball, elevating the team around him. There was a stat not maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago in real life in a Texans game where it was Stroud has played the most number of snaps behind a patchwork offensive line. I want to say missing at least 2 or 3 starters. I can't remember what the exact stat was, but he's really been doing his thing. And, that netted us Keegan Buchanan, who, yes, although we were disappointed that he was just a normal development player and he wasn't as refined in certain areas as we were expecting when we were taking a look at him in his class. I mean, he looked like he was going to be the next generational tackle. And I think that had he had a certain level to him out of the draft, I think we would have seen DJ Humphries find a new home. I don't think Buchanan would have ended up playing guard. However, with the way that he improved throughout the course of the season, I find it unlikely that he shifts back to a tackle position. Now, head coach Mike White is not completely throwing away that idea, but coming into the league as a rookie, playing a position you've never played before, and becoming not just serviceable, but, slightly above average to above average, you can't really ask for anything more. And I don't think that trying to have him follow a new development plan at a position left tackle, which is where he'd end up being if he did, move outside, because Paris Johnson, I mean, he's our right tackle of the future, and we're not moving him out of the way by any means. But then having him learn another position, and, left and right tackle, you could say, oh, they're all tackles. Not the same thing. Your pivot foot's different. The way that you get into your set is different. It's just, not a whole lot that is going to be the same. As you see right here, Lewis Seen, y'all, this is one of the hardest skill training drills, in my opinion. Not being able to see where they're going is really tough. And then on top of that, when they get into those breaks at the top of their routes, they're just so quick with it. And, even a guy like Lewis Seen, who has pretty good speed, just not able to keep up pretty much at all. As you see there, 50 points for Lewis Seen. Love to see that. But yes, about time to start and get ahead into these preseason games. We're going to start with a game at M&T Bank Stadium against the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson and company going to go ahead and host us in the first preseason game. Of course, the Ravens in real life this past preseason lost a streak of, I want to say 20 consecutive wins in the preseason, something crazy like that. As you see Trey McBride getting wide open there. Love to see that. One of our more unheralded playmakers. Yes, he was second on the team in yards, touchdowns, and catches last year behind Rashad Bateman, but that was a lot more due to Rondale Moore getting injured and just him and Roberts not necessarily always being on the same page. As you see Mark Andrews tying the game there. Now Malik Cunningham, that's an interesting one. He's in the game for Baltimore, and they can keep this same type of design offense in play with him, as Malik Cunningham certainly pretty swift in that quarterback spot. First and 10 now. Here we go. Cunningham going to drop back to pass, and he's going to be pressured and sacked by J-Ron Curse. Welcome back, J-Ron. Happy to have you back. Now a 3rd and 1. You see they got 2 receivers there on the right side. Cunningham going to drop back, and he's going to throw across the middle and find a wide open Jalen Thompson. Thompson was there the whole time, saw it the whole way. And Glenn Roberts now back to throw, has Rondale Moore not quite able to loft it enough. Did have it in his hands on the rebound, but wasn't able to get it done. But here we go. Roberts gonna snap, gonna throw quick. That's Joe Blanton, 2nd-year man. He was one of the receivers who got signed up from the practice squad. And, we figured why not give him a couple of snaps along with Amani Hunter, who, if you remember, in the first draft class, that first draft class after season 1, Imani Hunter was projected to go in the first round, but had a horrible combine, did not have redeeming qualities really outside of having good size. I mean, 230 pounds at receiver is certainly not something you see every day. But we're going to get both of those guys. Plenty of snaps here in this one. Robert's going to have the screen set up for Daryl Hobbs. Of course, Hobbs played very sparingly. After week 1, Antonio Gibson was injured for the first 2 games of last year, so he didn't make his debut until week 3. And it's crazy to think about because had he played the entire season, I mean, he could have knocked on the door of, 700-800 rushing yards, could have potentially had multiple 1,000-yard backs as Roberts misses Elijah Higgins over the middle of the field. And that's, one of those throws that we need to see Roberts consistently make if he wants to get a stranglehold on that number 1 spot, as he does connect there with Rondale Moore for 26 yards down into the red zone. Now, similar with last year, we are going to have Darnell Washington, as you see Roberts on the rollout, and he has the edge, has some speed. Really good job there from number 74 for Baltimore to track Roberts all the way down there. And it's a 4th and goal now, and they're going to set up the quick screen to Blanton. He breaks off a 1 hit into the end zone. That's his 2nd touchdown of the day. Really, really good job on him there. And he's taking advantage of the opportunities afforded to him here in the preseason as Daryl Hobbs cuts and finds a hole. But Hobbs, his very first touch as a Cardinal, he went, 18, 19 yards on a swing pass. Had a really nice run after that, about 14, 15 yards. Did you see Blanton there getting his 3rd? Glenn Roberts, 16 to 23, 151, 4 touchdowns. Now that looks like a Josh Dobbs stat line right there. Malik Cunningham didn't have a great game. Antonio Gibson did get into the end zone. Daryl Hobbs, 11 carries, 50 yards. Certainly no slouch in that department. But after those initial 2 touches, he was just completely ineffective. Wasn't seeing the holes, wasn't hitting them, didn't have that burst. But it does seem like, as you see George Cage, the rookie there, getting an interception, getting a sack on Malik Cunningham. Great job from him. But he was very ineffective. And after that first game, he was effectively benched. Ty Davis Price in that week 2 game against Miami took pretty much every running back snap. Hobbs may have checked in 2 or 3 times, but it certainly wasn't anything close to the workload that we would give Antonio Gibson later in the year. But now here we are in Pittsburgh and already looking at a 7-0 hole. But Jalen Thompson, for the 2nd game in a row, strikes, intercepting Kenny Pickett there. Just a bad decision to throw that one. Thompson was there the whole time. And now this offense is on the field. Josh Dobbs going to get a couple of snaps here. As here we go, looking deep right side for Rondale Moore, who beat his man at the top of the route. Really good job staying in bounds, setting up a 1st down. 1st and 10. Dobbs going to remain in the game. Here's Antonio Gibson, wide open hole. No one there to stop him. And he's in for the tie ball game. Touchdown, Cardinals. Now with the ball back, just 6 seconds left till the 2-minute warning. Dobbs setting up the screen here for Gibson. And Gibson's going to have some nice blocks set up. Makes a nice cut. Tries to put his head down. Doesn't really work too much, but does get 14 there as time continuing to tick here in the second quarter. Dobbs has a wide open Chase Claypool who's leveled by Minkah Fitzpatrick. Wow, tell him how you really feel, Minkah. Looked like he wanted to get that out for quite a while. Now 1st and goal. Dobbs looking underneath for Chase Claypool. It's picked by Richie Grant, fresh off of a new deal in Pittsburgh. Now Roberts into the game here in the third quarter, has Michael Wilson, and Wilson has some space, gets outside, cuts it back in for a gain of 15. Really nice on him there. They're going to go ahead and hurry things up. Roberts making some adjustments at the lines, and he's going to look quickly for Michael Wilson again. Wilson, of course, looking to be that number 4 receiver this season. He was a number 4 receiver his rookie season, but then we signed KJ Hamler the second season, and he was the number 5 receiver. But we like the direction that we feel like he's been able to take with now 2 years under his belt, been learning under Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, and with plays like that, back-to-back good plays for him there, and then ending it off with a touchdown. As here he is, the rookie Keontae Stockton finding Baxter. Oh, man. And, Dobbs didn't have an amazing performance in this one. 13 of 19, his typical 120 yards, did throw a pick. Glenn Roberts, though, throwing a touchdown as well. They had some pretty good stuff happening for them through the air and on the ground. George Baxter was the receiver whose name I was looking for. And now the final preseason game of this preseason here in year 3. It's going to be Kansas City. Of course, Kansas City, man, saw their playoff dreams end really, really early last year in an upset. In an upset loss in the, was it the divisional round? Let me see. It was the Bengals lost to the Raiders. Jacksonville lost to the Jets. Oh no, that was the divisional round. Yes, they lost to the Jets in the second round in a pretty good game, a very back and forth game, as you see Antonio Gibson getting in again. But, we beat them in week 18 last year, pretty much dominated them. Mahomes threw, 4 interceptions. Zaven Collins had 2 of those. Really just put a hurting on them. And I know it's just preseason, but they're surely going to be looking to have some type of revenge that they're able to take. You got to take what you can get. Mahomes scrambling, has a man. It's Richie James, has him into the end zone. And they also got the ball back once again. Going to try to kick this field goal here in the third quarter, but they're going to fake it. Nowhere to go. They had it covered the whole way. They bring him down. And Arizona now going to get the ball back again. You see Denario Stewart getting in there, making some big plays. Now, one thing I did want to point out, I'm sure it was, pretty obvious. Imani Harris did not really get a whole lot of run in the preseason. During the moments that we played, we weren't on defense too often, and most of our defensive plays would see as here you go, Michael Wilson again, trying to keep things moving. Wow, completely lost my train of thought there for a second. He didn't play too much. We didn't get a whole lot of play the moments defensively. And in the ones that we did get, they tended to err towards the running game versus the passing game. So not going to have any Imani Harris highlights here. And down 5 points, Wilhelm with a face mask. That's going to end the game. An automatic first down, just 30 seconds remaining. Only 2 timeouts. Kansas City walks away with that one. As you see, no touchdowns for Roberts today. Dobbs only threw 1 pass. But we like to see that completion percentage standing at 70%. Last year he was a 52% thrower. That's not going to be enough to get it done. So we definitely need to see improvement from him in that category, as well as keeping those interceptions down. Denario Stewart did have, he played quite a few snaps. George Cage, we saw a little bit. Neither of them really jumped off the screen too much in the preseason. But, again, just getting their feet wet. Wanted to get a nice first look. And let's take a look at the team, the finalized team, as we go into, week 1. We got Glenn Roberts, as we mentioned, at quarterback. Josh Dobbs behind him. Ty Davis Price, Antonio Gibson, and Darrell Hobbs going to be the running back trio there. Rashad Bateman, Rondale Moore, Chase Claypool, the top 3 guys, with Michael Wilson and Imani Hunter going to be that fifth and final piece. You know, he spent last year on the practice squad. We have a fifth spot open, and we're going to go ahead and see how much more he can develop in that position. Trey McBride, Elijah Higgins going to be the top two tight ends. DJ Humphries, Keegan Buchanan, Dalton Murray, Cesar Ruiz, and Paris Johnson going to be the starting offensive line. Defensively, now James Houston is not going to be the starter there. He's really more of a linebacker role. He's too small to play on the interior. He's only 235 pounds. Denario Stewart, Juan Drummond, Eric Armstead, and Dante Stills going to be those top four guys on the interior. AJ Epinesa, he's on a one-year deal. We may switch him and Dante Stills around, but the plan is to have Drummond and Denario Stewart be those primary guys. We want them to get the snaps and the experience. Eric Armstead will be the first guy first guy in the rotation that isn't going to be, a full-time starter. And then, of course, Lewis Seen and Jalen Thompson at safety. Stinson, Jalen Johnson, Greedy Williams, Amani Harris going to be those top four corners with Israel Mukwamu and Garrett Williams. And then Zaven Collins, of course, with Cam Wilhelm at linebacker, B.J. Ojolari and Cam Thomas remaining as the edge rushing duo. But that is going to do it for us, man. Preseason is over. We are very, very close to the beginning of a new season, and what is going to be a season where we are no longer the targeters, but we are the targeted. Again, most people, I'm sure, did not have Arizona holding the Lombardi Trophy on their bingo card, but Josh Dobbs said he didn't care what y'all had on your bingo card. He was going to go out and handle business. He did exactly what he needed to do, and he's there to support Glenn Roberts all the way. He's team first, and, if his name is ever called again, he'll be ready to step up, man. He knows this system. He's becoming an Arizona legend very quickly if he isn't already. But we'll save all of that, man, for week one. San Francisco going to look to get their first win against head coach Mike White. We'll see what happens next time. Thank you, as always, so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe should you feel so inclined. And y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Peace.